Omaha's police chief decides if the actions of an officer were justified.
Officer Adam Vail killed Cameron Ford last month while executing a no-knock warrant. Our Bella Caracta joins us live in the studio with the latest.
John Aaron, Chief Todd Schmatter says the man who pulled the trigger should be fired from the force. It's the result of an internal affairs investigation. Now keep in mind, this is separate from the criminal investigation, where the county attorney concluded Officer Adam Vail used legal force when he killed Ford. Vail was the first person to enter Cameron Ford's home in search of guns and drugs. Ford was unarmed at the time. Here's what Chief Todd Schmatter had to say tonight. The internal affairs process and investigation were comprehensive and thorough. During the course of the investigation, I did not see or uncover any criminal intent on the part of Officer Vail. Nonetheless, I cannot ignore my determination that policy and procedure violations occurred. Now, it's possible for Vail to be terminated and rehired by Omaha Police. Remember, that's what happened 4 years ago in the case of Zachary Bear Heels. In 2020, 3 of 4 officers involved in Bear Heels' death were rehired after the police union advocated on their behalf in front of a panel. The Omaha Police Officers Association is now standing behind Officer Vail. In a statement, they say, Officer Vail willingly chose to serve on the SWAT team, fully aware of the risks. In this instance, he was not involved in authoring the warrant, presenting it to a judge, or conducting the investigation. He simply did his job as directed. There is still a grand jury investigation pending where criminal charges could be pressed. On your side in the studio, Bella Caracta, 6 News.